Introducing my Serek Lincoln. This thing is cool as hell. Now there's a good chance that you've probably never seen anything quite like this before. This is actually number 54 of this style of bass, so not too many of these are floating around out there in the wild. If you're not familiar with Serek basses, they are a custom bass maker out of Chicago. I've been following them for a while and I just absolutely love their designs, and back in March I decided I was finally going to pull the trigger on one of these guys, and about a month ago I got it.
Ooh. That's sexy.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
That's beautiful.
And this thing fully exceeds all of my expectations. I absolutely love this thing. Now, as far as custom basses go, this one is not really that far out there, but it does have some interesting features. Let me just go through the specs really quick. This is a 34-inch scale bass, so full scale, with a slightly wider than a jazz bass nut width, so it's pretty comfortable to play, but still is, substantial enough to get your hand around it. Maple neck Jatoba fretboard, mahogany body finished in this dark red that I shamelessly stole from the Annie Clark signature guitar. In fact, that's where the whole color scheme idea came from. I've got it decked out with some gold hipshot hardware. And lastly, this super unique pickup array. So what we have up here is a pair of Serek singles. These are made in-house by Serek, and they function more or less just like regular single coil pickups here in like the P-bass-ish position. And you get 4 different modes with this rotary selector. First you get both pickups in series, then you get both pickups in parallel, the neck pickup by itself, and then finally the bridge pickup by itself. If you're already subscribed to my channel, you probably saw that I uploaded a series of shorts that just kind of quickly go through all of the sounds. I uploaded those the first weekend that I got the bass, but I also wanted to take my time with a full review so that I could explore it in a band context and, play a bunch of gigs with it and really get to know the bass before I started talking about it. So far, I've played this on quite a few gigs, including a live stream in a recording studio for my Halloween-themed rock opera Deep Love. I sat in with a jazz band and played a couple of tunes with them. I also took this to a recording session with a local country artist. I've also done a couple gigs with my band Jake and the Heist, which is kind of a funk soul pop band with a couple of originals as well as covers, and this bass does awesome in all of those. So yeah, at this point I'm pretty comfortable with it. I know the ins and outs of it, and I feel comfortable now talking about what each sound is good for, what some of its limitations could be, and all of that jazz. So let's go through all of the pickup selections. I'll talk about what their character is, and then what they're good for and how I use them, starting with position 1, which is both pickups in series mode. In this mode, the 2 pickups function like a humbucker, except it's really, really fat sounding. It actually has a slightly higher output than the other 3 settings. This was the mode that I used when I recorded on the country song because it had lots of fat low end, but because I was playing this somewhat busy walking bass line, had enough clarity in there that you could tell what I was doing. I also used this during the rock opera. Whenever I wanted this bass to sound more like an upright bass, I would put it into position 1, turn the tone all the way off, and then do a thumb pluck down here, and then you get kind of an upright sound.
Deep in my breast, I'll have to repress that longing for love that I'd kill for. Please let my prayer be carried somewhere. I will be waiting till love appears.
In the next mode, you get both pickups in series mode, which is pretty similar to what you'd get out of the neck pickup of a Stingray. It's got a lot of clarity and punch, and I find that it's great for slapping lines. I'm also using this position anytime that I would have normally used, both pickups on a jazz bass. I know they don't sound anything alike, but functionally, they serve the same purpose for me. So for example, when I'm playing Just the Two of Us, that song was originally recorded on a jazz bass and has this, slap bit during the chorus, and I find that position 2 in series mode sounds great for that song. So we have position 3, which is the neck pickup all by itself, and this is basically P-bass mode. This setting gives you lots of low mids, like it's characteristic of a P-bass, and it's kind of my favorite just because that's where I'm comfortable. That's kind of like home base for me. If I'm not sure what I want to do in a song, this is where I go. And yes, there is a little bit of single coil hum because that's the kind of pickup it is, but I find that it really doesn't come through all that much. And one thing I should say generally with this bass is that it is so clear and somehow still vintage sounding. And that's kind of the sentiment that I got from all of the other bass players that I had try this bass out. Like, it just has this clarity to it without sounding hi-fi. It's really interesting. So, for example, when I'm in P-bass mode and I roll the tone knob all the way down to do some like Motown stuff, it still is just really, really clear, like not muddy at all. Fascinating quality of this bass, and I really like it. Lastly, we get the bridge pickup all by itself, and this one is really interesting because it almost gets you into Rickenbacker territory. If the neck pickup is bringing out the low mids, then the bridge pickup is definitely bringing out the high mids. It's got a little bit more snarl. It's really, really awesome for more aggressive styles. And in fact, in my rock opera, there's one character, Florence, and she is just an absolute firecracker. And basically, anytime that she sings, I would switch to this mode because it was kind of just like this character association with the sound. Nobody noticed and nobody cared, but it was just like a little thing that I did just for the interest of it. Like, I thought it was a cool detail. Speaking of playing with a pick, somebody asked what it sounded like in all of the modes with a pick, so I've added that to my shorts playlist if you want to check that out. So that brings me to the only problem with this bass, and that is that I want another one, and they're not cheap. By every metric, this is just such a good bass. It's so unique looking, it's unique sounding, it's vintage without being muddy, it plays flawlessly, it's so comfortable, it's so light. Like, my shoulder doesn't hurt at the end of the night, which is amazing. Like, you can see how thin it is. Like, it just doesn't weigh anything. There's this really fantastic quote from Jake Serek that I think kind of sums up their ethos as a company, and I'll just read that to you because I think it's a great little quote. Some people get too caught up on the features or how it was built. I want our instruments to be beat up and played live. I don't want them to be hanging on a wall. It's not art or decoration, it's a tool. I want to keep that utilitarian mentality. We're creating tools for creators. And I think that really shines through in this instrument. It's beautifully made and it looks incredible, but above all, it plays great and it sounds great. And I cannot wait to wear this bass out over the next decade or two. So big thanks to Jake, Serek, and the team for making this beautiful instrument. I hope you'll get another order from me again sometime soon. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of this bass or anything else on this channel, and I will see you on the next one. AMP out.
They just won't let me be.